Hey Global Village, what's up? Okay, I want to start out by just referring to this particular article, which is a day ago at time of recording, and then I'm just going to speak to the wider issue of what's going on here. So let me just play this.
Australia joins UK, Germany, Italy, and New Zealand in condemning Israel's planned Gaza City takeover. Joint statement warns Netanyahu's new ground offensive will worsen catastrophic humanitarian situation as international outrage grows.
Yeah, so basically, what this is called is performance art. It's public theatre, and it kind of works something like this. You've got your politicians sitting in an ivory tower, and they, of course, have expert consultants who let them know, what's actually going on in other parts of the world, and these people specialise in different regions. And of course, there's going to be people who are reporting back the facts on the ground in terms of what's happening in Palestine. And so, the New Zealand government has known for a long time now that Israel have been committing basically every war crime that there is to commit, and indeed have been engaging in a sort of systematic form of starvation as a weapon of war against the people in Gaza. And what they're doing is, when they first became aware of this, they were like, I hope the Israelis just get this over and done with as quickly as possible, because our public aren't going to like this. And then as time is dragged on and these images start coming out of Palestine, unfiltered images of children with their ribs poking out of their chest, and all of a sudden you've got protests outside the Israeli embassy, you've got people writing letters to their local MPs, and general protests and marches happening within major cities, etc. And now the politicians are starting to sweat. They're like, this is actually going to damage our political credibility and our prospects in future elections. It's going to cause civil unrest. So we've got to do something. What we need to do here is we need to throw the public a bone. So let's conjure up a letter, and we'll act outraged and angry about stuff that we've known has been going on for many, many months, if not longer. And hopefully this performance art will be enough to calm down the unruly mobs, the little people, so that they think we are actually doing something and representing their interests and their moral concerns. So that's what's actually going on here. But in other words, it's complete horseshit. The reality is, if our government was sincere about actually protesting what Israel was doing, they would have actually performed some sort of material consequences on Israel, like, for example, sending the Israeli ambassador packing, sending them back where they came from, actually executing proper sanctions on Israel. And New Zealand is a small country. There's not a lot we could do, but we can definitely do something material. And so far we've done absolutely nothing except wring hands and write silly little letters. These letters of condemnation, the Palestinian people can't eat these. And that leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, is some countries are doing airdrops. They're dropping food onto Gaza. Now, the reality is these food drops could weigh, half a ton to a couple of tons. So they don't have to be moving that particularly fast. That if they actually make contact with humans, they're going to cause serious injury and potentially death, which indeed there have been some reported cases where they've done exactly that. So these airdrops are a stupid idea, and again, they're just being done to appease the masses, to make it look like the country is actually doing something material to assist the people of Palestine. In fact, if they want to do something effective, they need to push very hard to get the borders opened up so the food can flow. So the UN has proper access to the people in Gaza, and so that they can actually set up proper distribution points and get that food out there. Fill up the warehouses and engage in the dispersal of the food in a organized and functional manner. Like what's happening now, the very few food trucks that do get into Palestine, well, the Palestinian people are so desperate that they're literally just attacking the trucks to get the food immediately. You know, that it's like first in, first served. If they just wait, the feeling is that they're just not going to see that food at all. So of course they just try and invade the trucks. And there was an incident where there were so many people that the truck actually toppled over on its side and crushed and killed people. So, you know, not only are the Palestinian people having their dignity stolen, but they have been put into a state where they are in this mode of survival. Every day they're just looking for whatever they can do to survive. And when a truck comes through laden with food, they can either watch it go by, knowing that they're almost certainly never going to see any of that food, or they can take their chances because literally it's a life and death situation. You know, so we're not going to get on top of this by drip feeding a little bit of food here and a little bit of food there, doing these airdrops, etc. Again, this is performance art. Proper and real solutions need to be implemented by people who know what they're doing when it comes to working in a situation like this. And this is what Israel absolutely is not allowing, which is why countries that are seeing the truth of this, and again, there are consultants who are telling the government officials all of this stuff. They already know. They know what's really going on. So when they do these airdrops, it just goes to demonstrate the level of cynicism that we're actually dealing with here. It is absolutely appalling. Now, we've got other examples here, like Germany and I think Canada restricting the weapons that they're now supplying to Israel. Now, they're using some very disingenuous weasel words in the way that they're actually phrasing this, because they're saying we're no longer shipping weapons that can be used in Gaza. Now, you wouldn't use the qualifier "can be used in Gaza" unless you needed to. If they decided we're just not going to ship weapons anymore, then it would be more, that would be all you need to say. You know, it's like, we're no longer going to supply weapons to Israel because we don't want to support the genocide in Gaza. But that isn't the phrasing they used. And the reason they used that phrasing is they are still shipping weapons to Israel, and they're just stipulating that you better not use these weapons in Gaza, as if that edict is in any way enforceable. Now, let's suppose for a minute that it was enforceable. It still doesn't really make any difference, because what it means is they'll take these weapons and they'll go and use them in Lebanon, and they'll go and use them in Syria, and that means the weapons that they were previously going to be used in those regions can now be turned and repurposed to be used in Gaza. So again, it is just a meaningless level of sanction that has no practical impact on what Israel are doing. It's just all about playing the game. It's gross, it's disgusting. And again, I just want to make this video so that everyone, if in case you just weren't aware, you can understand what's really going on here. We need to keep the pressure on, because this isn't it. This isn't the solution we're looking for. Our governments are still not doing what they need to do, and we need to continue to hold them to account. All right, Bendy out.